Welcome to the Inspiration North podcasts, inspiring stories from inspirational people and how they found their passion, their true north. I'm James Eves.
And I'm Michelle Minikin, and this is the Inspiration North podcast.
Today's episode, Things You Can Learn While Naked, with Lynsey Walton. We talk about how there's a niche for everything, getting good at sales after multiple rejections, and you don't have to please everyone. You get nowhere just being vanilla.
Lynsey is a HR leader and personal growth specialist who uses her unorthodox career path to create connections in unlikely places. For over a decade, she kept her corporate and strip club personas separate, like an X-rated Hannah Montana. But it was when she finally allowed both worlds to collide that the magic really happened. Since going it alone in 2015, Lynsey has delivered her own maverick blend of HR support specialising in startups and small businesses, and worked with individuals to accelerate their own personal growth. 2020 saw the launch of her Passion Bear, a sex-positive, all-inclusive anti-shame project that cuts through the cultural stigma and empowers others through group mentoring and workshops.
So, Lynsey, we're going back to childhood. Did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up?
I did. And I would tell everyone that would listen, frog voice, and tell everyone that would listen that I wanted to be a cheerleader. Specific. As you can see, I'm doing loads towards that right now. It's like, I'm almost there.
So what drew you to that? It's glamorous.
The glamorous job. Well, I always danced. So from when I was tiny, I went to dance class and I did the tap, ballet, modern, did all that kind of thing. And I think it was just probably more of an extension from that and watching 80s films. Because if you watch an 80s film, who's having the most fun?
The dancers.
Cheerleaders. Yeah. So it was just like, what that?
Oh, like
movies
like Grease and
exactly.
all that kind of stuff.
So I was just suckered into that and thought it's probably within my grasp. Mm-hmm. I could probably do that. So that was my thing. I want to be a cheerleader. That's all I used to say.
So what did you do about that then?
So, I just thought that dancing was enough. I just thought I'll dance and then eventually it'll just happen. Mm-hmm. I guess. I think that was my plan from it, and then I probably just packed it away. But yeah, I danced for years and years, and then did pantomimes. I was that little kid in the background in the generic clothing and scraped back hair. Mm-hmm. Did that for a while, and then when I was at college, it came the point of everybody was getting part-time jobs and stuff like that, and I started podium dancing. Well, I didn't actually, sorry. I started behind the bar somewhere and then thought, well, I just want to do what she's doing because she looks like she's having more fun and probably making more money. Mm-hmm. So she was poorly one night and I promise I did nothing. This was not showgirls, right? It wasn't like tripped her down the stairs. Oh, hi. There was just one night, there was a need and I just happened to have a costume with me. Be prepared. That's what I did. Just carry a little costume just in case you might need it.
You totally did something with that girl, didn't you?
I didn't, but I always carried a costume.
Put olive oil on the pole or something. And slip off
Trip her over.
Dropped a little diarrhea tablet. There we go.
Yeah. Oh no, she's poorly. Here I am.
It just so happens in my bag.
But from quite early working there, I did decide that I was going to take something with me just in case every single night. Yeah. So then I kind of started doing that and never really looked back. Used to dance on the Tuxedo Princess the Tuxedo Royale. Uh-huh. That's a very northern reference, isn't it?
I'm so sad when that went.
Still missed to this day.
Yeah, I think the smell still lingers. Yeah, so used to dance on there, a few places in Whitley Bay, like random places. And then I worked with someone that was like, oh, by the way, I work in this club. It was actually in Leeds and she was making significantly more money. So I just thought, oh, well, that's what I'll do. Mm-hmm. And went there and how hard can it be? And then that's kind of where I went. I mean, I learned it was really hard. I just thought you could turn up with what you needed and it would all be fine, but it's not always the case. So yeah, started there, did a few nights in strip club in, we'll say Yorkshire, because I can't remember if it was Leeds or Harrogate. And then just did a few more. And from there, I was still at college, but then was doing that. And then thought, when I finished college, everyone else was going off to uni. And I just, not bother doing that. I'll just follow this money that I've got now. Had a couple of times where I worked for different like agencies and stuff, doing other random jobs. But it was kind of mostly around the same sort of thing. Did that for ages and ages. Shall I tell you some of the random ones?
Yes,
Is that more
please.
funny if you're the random
Yes,
ones?
please.
So for a while, I used to work for the adult channel, and they used to do a Miss Wet T-shirt competition. This as well. Has anyone seen a Miss Wet T-shirt competition?
Look at James.
James, have you seen a Miss Wet T-shirt competition?
Probably in a bar somewhere.
Yeah, you probably have. Yeah,
on
so
holiday
they trek in this shower, and surprise, surprise, you have ladies in a thong and nothing else and a T-shirt, and you get wet, and that's what you do. So they used to do this.
It's easy to follow, though. That's enough.
Yeah, it's very simple.
It's not too complicated for people who are drinking. You don't need to
Like,
overcomplicate
no, right,
these
hang
things,
on.
do you?
They're going to get wet in a minute. That's fine.
And wiggle.
Yeah, wet and wiggle. That's all you need to do. So the adult channel, I think that was quite a 90s thing, because you don't see them anymore. I do think that was a very 90s, well, probably
It's
early.
fairly American as
Yeah,
well.
early 2000s actually.
Spring
yeah.
break.
Yes, yeah, a very early 2000s thing. But I think it was around about, because the adult channel used to be a UK thing, and then it was bought out by Playboy. So it was after that so that would make sense, the American thing. So they would tour around the UK and do these Miss Wet T-shirt competitions, like in a town near you, kind of thing. And they would ask for entry, like anyone could enter. It was kind of, they would say, we're coming to this bar, do you want to turn up? But they weren't sure if anyone would enter locally.
Yeah.
And what they would do, if they were like, because I suppose if you just, at least with us, if you hire a few girls to do it, you can tell them what you want them to do. But then I just,
The professionals.
yeah. But so I just had a different name every night and pretended to be from wherever it was.
You did some accents.
No, I didn't. I didn't change my voice. I didn't change my hair. I did nothing. So anyone that was, a series fan, it would have been like,
you around.
hold on.
The roadies come in following you around.
Is that not Jennifer from Stockport? I don't think
She
so.
looks very like her.
She looks very, very much like Claire from Barnsley, and I just don't know why. I don't know what it is.
It's like twins.
Yeah.
Triplets, yeah.
So I did that for ages. And also,
Did you ever win?
Well, you didn't want to win,
Oh.
right? Because so the logistics of it is you
Very
have
competitive, though.
It's
the problem.
so you get the shower and you bring it out. It's recycled water
Oh.
because it's not plumbed in. It's pulled onto a stage and there's a tank.
Uh-huh.
So you go in once. Do you really want to go back in
After everyone
after
else.
everybody else has been in?
Not particularly.
So you really don't want to win.
Uh-huh.
It's
So when you win, you just get another go.
yes.
No. You don't win anything.
No, because I was paid to be there, so I definitely didn't win anything. So it was just random nights, and they would sort of sometimes let someone win that wasn't us, and I can now looking back, I can't remember if we were ever allowed to tell anyone that we weren't just random people. No. When you just rock up, I don't know if I can't remember that part, but yeah, you didn't really want to win because then you'd have to go back in again, which was just, the idea of that was a bit gross. Once in that shower is enough for anyone.
Yes.
And then we also used to do like mud wrestling things. So put up a paddling pool in the middle of a bar, but then you would find out after you'd done it that they had no changing facilities, and you end up being hosed off in like the cellar by some glass collector before you put everything. I mean, it's really classy stuff. So it was just lots of random kind of, that was club work in the 90s, I think. So I was stripping, but then I was also doing random extra things as well. Anything to kind of hustle a bit of money, I suppose. And it just seemed really normal.
Easy money.
Yeah. Well, someone would be like, oh, shall we do this? Yeah, of course we will. Of course we'll do that. I remember that we were, as part of the mud wrestling thing, someone had this bright idea to promote the event that it would go in. So everyone remember the Daily Sport?
Daily spurt.
Spurt, yeah, exactly. So there was me and my friend stood in this paddling pool in the Daily Spurt doing a whole like crap article about like, yeah, they're going to be wrestlers. Does anyone want to challenge them? We got like legitimate hate mail from some blokes are writing in like, oh, who does she think she is? Like, I think I'm paid to stand in a car park and it's cold. But you know, it was just really like random stuff. But I feel like you don't really see that random stuff.
No.
I suppose we didn't have just do it online and make some money on the internet. Then
That's a new offshoot from like WWE or
Yes.
it's like WTF wrestling or something.
yeah, what the fuck are you doing over there?
In the blue corner,
You can't tell what colour it's all mud.
Jennifer from Barnsley.
But not against Claire because it's the same person.
So did you wrestle in jelly as well?
No, it was mostly like mud chocolatey kind of stuff. It was just gross and it would just get everywhere. And then there was obviously they need to be showered off and then back in the van and then back home. And that was like my life for ages. It was just drive somewhere, us in a van, go do something really weird, come home, or I was stripping. And that was kind of it. But I guess it was fun.
Yeah.
And you don't really think about it at the time. It was just like, yeah, this is easy kind of money and doing weird jobs that
You didn't know existed. I was stuck in a pizza shop. Bit crap, really, isn't
I
it?
don't know. I bet you got better food than we
Oh
did.
no, I got paid £20 in a pizza after every shift. So,
Oh, there you go.
I became very popular in my
Yeah.
Northern residence.
Everyone's like, she's back. Hi.
I was like, I'm going to put pineapple on this because it reduces the light.
People that want it.
Put chicken and pineapple.
Yeah.
Nobody likes that stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Pizza would have been, I would have done that for pizza. There was an awesome pizza shop next to a club that I used to dance in for years in Leeds. Used to be under the railway arches. It was called DV8. And there was an amazing pizza shop next door. But the downside was the club itself had an open fire and a pizza shop.
Oh.
Like next door to it. So I'd be like, I don't really want to dance, do I? I just
Just
want to
wanna
go
eat
in
pizza
and
and
eat
snuggle.
pizza. Yeah, I just don't want to. I distinctly remember there was one night, there was me and my friend sat, and with everyone else was working, and we'd got our pizza, and we're like, let's eat it downstairs by the fire. In full imagine strippers eating pizza. I mean, I think
That'd be
we just
like
had
a bit weird, wouldn't it?
a very low standard. We're sat eating pizza next to the fire, and then this guy walks in, and we both look at each other and we're like, oh, I don't want to work. Avoid eye contact. So we're just like eating pizza, trying not to look at we're the only two girls because everybody else was dancing or getting changed or whatever, and we're just like, don't look at him. Pretend, just keep eating pizza. And then he came and sat at the table, and we were like, still don't look at him.
He's like, what is he after? Me or the pizza? Because he's not touching the pizza.
Yeah, exactly. Get off. Look the other way.
The ideal client is you want the guy who would just like to pay to watch you to eat pizza.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
would
I'm sure
be
that
like-
happens.
That would be awesome.
I had my friend, I never had that. I was never lucky enough to get any client like that. But my friend did have a customer that used to come, and he would bring his laptop and a bowl of sweets, and he would pay to go into VIP, and he would rub her feet while she watched films. And that was it. He was in no way interested in my feet. I tried. He would come in, I'd be like, oh, hey. Pointing the toes and everything. I don't know what her feet had, but it wasn't mine. He was not interested at all.
That's so funny.
And we also had a customer that used to pay, so this shows how long ago it was, pay someone to stand in front of him naked and smoke. And that was it.
Oh.
Not dance, just naked and smoke. For hours.
I was thinking, literally, the thing that popped into my head was Dot Cotton.
Like a really glamorous Doc Cotton.
She's still with us.
Don't know,
No, I
actually.
don't know.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
I think she was. Yeah.
Oh, I don't think she is. Oh,
She just left the
She
series.
just
didn't
left.
She? The series, that is. Not,
not
The
Earth.
Mortal Coil.
I don't know. Yeah, but it would have been amazing if someone just like paid eat pizza. But this guy didn't. He really interrupted. So I thought, how can I like make him go away? So I was like, I know. So he was like, oh, do you want to go for a dance? I was like, only if you bring her. So then I was thinking, he'll say no. he was like, all right then. Fuck. I want to finish my pizza.
You have to wait 10 minutes.
Yeah. Bloat. So like, okay, right, fine. And I think, how can I make him go away? So I was like, just like, make it sound really expensive and be like, oh, well, like if you pay us like 60 quid, we'll do a special beer mat dance. Again, thinking he'll hear 60 quid and go.
What's beer mat dance?
Well, I didn't know. This was just me making him go away so I could eat pizza. It's probably not good business sense, but there you go. And he was like, all right then. Fuck. And on the way, because there was you
just got 2 beer mats.
You're way ahead of me. So we're on the way from the pizza zone, really sad, like, bye pizza, see you soon. And she leans over and she's like, what the fuck is a beer mat dance? And I was like, I don't know, but we're gonna have to think of something. So for 3 minutes we just kind of jiggled some beer mats around, put them on our heads in front of us, and then I had the goal to say, do you want another one? No, he left. And I went back to my pizza. So in 4 minutes I was back at the pizza.
That's not bad for 60
and he was
quid.
60 quid. Well, it was, it was 30 quid each.
Yeah, but for 4 minutes work.
Yeah. 3 minutes work and 1 minute running back to your pizza.
Oh, bless you.
I never get in between dances and food. I mean, they did stop us from eating out on the floor after that. So I think, just eat in the changing rooms. It was the fire. It was really nice. Nice and cozy. It's not as glamorous as it sounds. But yeah, so I was doing that. Trying to think, we were doing chronological stuff, weren't we? So I was dancing and doing like weird jobs and.
Do you get any workplace training?
Do you know what? You kind of have to learn on the job. There's always someone that's been there longer than you, and there's always someone that'll kind of train you and help you. And it is honestly had some of the best times and made some of my best friends that I still speak to now that were from the industry. Like it's so nice. And there's things that you. Because like I said, I was really, really naive. I just thought, well, you turn up, I've got tits and ass. How hard can this be? And it's a lot harder than you think. Like I saw a pie chart. Someone shared it on Instagram the other day. I'll have to find it and show it to you. But it was like a whole pie chart thing of like your life as a stripper and what you spend your time doing. And everyone thinks you spend your time walking around with a thong and dancing for people. But that's like such a small fraction of your time. It's like a good wedge is just getting rejected. And then the other wedge is trying to fit what you've brought into the case that you brought with you because you were sure it all fitted and it didn't. And then like having weird injuries and it's all just weird stuff, or waiting when there's no customers there, kind of learning to pole dance, or someone would teach you how to do it, or kind of...
I was just giggling there. We're in the process of watching Sopranos because we missed it the first time round. And we started last summer. We're still going. And the strippers in Bada Bing, is that what it's called?
Bing, yeah.
They're really rubbish on. They just walk around the pole and wiggle. There's no proper like pole dancing.
It's very rare, I mean, some do, but it's very rare that you'll get someone properly going for it because it's like. Do you want to tire yourself out when you've got to spend the rest of the night on your feet dancing for someone?
That makes sense. Yeah.
And it's supposed to be like a
sitting on my sofa criticising.
It's supposed to be like a kind of... But you do get some people that are absolutely amazing, but I was never one of those people. I just did the bare minimum to get by.
So you can't go upside down and
I can, but I just
didn't.
They took a long time to for a while I could go upside down but never get off gracefully. I just used to wait till they turn the lights out and fall.
Help. Dave, turn the lights up.
The music was loud enough to cover the thud.
Bring a step ladder.
But the dressing room was right near the stage. So I
it's like crawl
off. Give it up for Sophie from Aldershot.
Boom.
Are there any doctors in the house?
She's got a concussion. That was her head.
Fell on her face.
Yeah. But it is, you do kind of, the training and stuff comes from your peers. And I think that's it's something really nice that you see now if you follow any strippers or just sex workers in general. Like went back in the day, I was kind of, I didn't tell anybody. Even when there was very few people that knew what I did. I mean, my daughter was little, so I always used to think I don't want, not so much bothered for me, but I never wanted to be stood at the school gates and look next to us and see a bloke I'd done a dance for the night before. Or like just, and I thought as long as Meg doesn't feel any kind of, because kids are cruel, and let's face it. I mean, I think they did realise at one point though, because I remember she came home from school and she said they'd been talking about films, and the Will Smith film where his wife's a stripper.
Oh
God, Independence Day.
yes.
So we were talking about Independence Day, and the teacher had said that she had a low-skilled job. And up pipes Megan about how it wasn't a low-skilled job, and did she really know what that girl had to go? And I was like, oh God, that teacher knows your mum's a stripper now. She kind of outed me at that point.
There's a really good, there's a meme, isn't there, online where there's kids who've drawn things.
Yeah.
And it's a girl's mum who's clearing snow.
But it looks like...
And everyone's throwing money at her.
Yeah.
She works the target.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of me being outed by Megan to the school.
How old was she then?
She would have been at sixth form.
Oh, right.
Oh, no, actually, she wouldn't. She would have been at secondary school. So it wasn't too bad.
So they probably thought you were like the coolest mum in the world.
Well, I think by then she would probably have been okay to deal with it. As in, she would have just told them where to go, to be honest. So I think that would have been fine. But for a long time, it was quite, where was I going with that? Oh, yes. So for a long time, you had your friends at the club, and they would be the ones that we all learnt from. And there was always, someone that had been there for years. And there's always so you have kind of like a house mother that looks after everyone. And she's probably an older stripper.
I just drew a comparison back to, you mentioned Doc Cotton, so I had this image of
Doc Cotton
still...
is the house mum that looked after us all. Yeah, but there was always
still glamorous, still dressed up.
Yes, but it kind of was. There was always someone that used to dance that now doesn't dance that looked after us.
Oh.
It was kind of like that sort of thing, and 90% of the time that it was a really lovely thing. Obviously, you're not going to always have that, but that's work, isn't it? But then you would learn from your peers and stuff like that. But even now, if you have a look online, now I love how open everyone is. Like, people post on their Instagram that that's what they used to do. Like, I can see it. Whereas then I would never have dreamt of seeing it. I wouldn't talk about it. It's just not something that I told anyone. But then there's a whole like accounts and areas and things set up that's like teaching other strippers like how to do better, how to make more money, what you can do. Like, there's so much kind of growth out there, and I think it's really good that everyone just cobbles it all together. So it's not, I mean, we didn't sit down and have official training. If you turned up and you had a thong, you were pretty much in. Start with small shoes, work to the big shoes.
No PowerPoint presentations.
No, not that I remember. No, I don't think so. Health and safety was a bit of miss, but
on the job learning, that's where most learning comes from, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's really surprising how many things when I went into corporate life, that they would send me on training courses to do various different things, and I'd kind of be like, I knew that, but I didn't know it had the name of whatever it is theory, but I learnt that naked by making a fool of myself, and it didn't work, so I just did something else, and then it didn't work, and kind of
trial and error.
Yeah, definitely trial and error, and it just you kind of you build up a kind of a skill set that you don't realize, and I do think that's what people don't. They look at anyone in sex work and don't necessarily think of the transferable skills that go with it. But there's a lot of stuff that you do that is really useful.
Well, I'd imagine you're picking up on body language.
Yeah.
You're understanding someone's needs or motivations.
Selling.
Sales techniques. Sweetening deals, so to speak.
Yeah. Upselling.
Upselling onto other services.
Yeah. Marketing.
Yeah.
It's all the same.
It's all exactly the same. The only difference is I was naked. That's it. And everyone kind of thinks, oh, well, maybe it was easier because you were naked. But no, just no.
It's a bit more vulnerable, isn't it? It's a vulnerable position.
Yeah, just a little bit, yeah. But yeah, there's little things that you do and you look back and go, oh, yeah, that's why I do things that way, and and it's because you just learned, but you kind of, there was a lot you learned, trial and error, and then friends would help you and stuff like that, and it's it's just weird things that you pick up.
So I love looking at your Instagram account, and I love it when all the drag pictures, especially.
Yeah.
Because we went at Christmas with my hairdresser, Chris, who's literally just lives around the corner. Doesn't live around the corner. He operates around the corner.
Yeah.
And we went to Boulevard.
Oh, yeah. Boulevard's
Love it in
amazing.
there. They hate us.
Why do they hate you?
We get really drunk and leery and stand up and stuff.
Nice.
They don't like it.
I love Boulevard.
But yes, he drags us there quite often.
It is. It's so much fun. I think that kind of came from, so for a long time I joined, so the reason I stopped stripping full time was I had a car accident. So someone went into the back of me. It wasn't a particularly bad accident, but if your job is moving, that instantly I had whiplash and I couldn't work. And I thought, oh, shit, and I have to do something. I can't just not work. So, and there wasn't the internet that you could like sell pictures on or hustle that way. So I went into a call centre. And just worked part-time there, and then kind of just did dual things for a while. So I always worked in corporate and then danced as well, because that's just what I was used to, and I just did that for years and years, and that kind of just turned into other things. And I did a bit of burlesque for a while, which is where the LO Boys comes from. I was always L majority of the time when I was stripping. It depended, unless, so when you started a new club, if basically it's just a game of which names have been taken. Yeah. So you just go through, and all the good ones are
Candy.
gone first. Yeah, exactly. Your Candy, your Crystal, all of those are gone. And you rock up and you're like,
I want a good stripper name.
Yes, Sandra, Dot,
Barbara,
anything.
Edith.
So, yeah. But then it also means that you regularly forget what your damn name is. Yes. Because you've just rocked up and you're like, sat. So they're like, and next to the stage.
Occupational hazard, isn't it?
Next to the stage is Dot. And you're like, shoving pizza on your face, talking to someone. And the guy's like, is that not you? Yeah, it is.
I forgot my name.
Good
Sorry.
point. Good point, that's me. Off I go. So lots of people used to kind of call me Elle anyway. It's not rocket science, it's just the first letter of my name. And that kind of stuck. So then when I was going to do burlesque stuff, I was like, I need a name, and LO Boys. I didn't make it up. Somebody else made it up. It's because of the boobies. So yeah, it was just from that good old fashioned. Was it Wonder Bra that used to say "Hello Boys" on it?
Oh yes.
So it was a Wonder Bra advert that said "Hello Boys." So
they didn't do them big enough for me.
So
Tumble brag.
Well, before I purchased mine, I needed all the help I could get. So those Wonder Bras were drawn as. So that became LO Boys, and that was the kind of burlesque and then drag kind of name that come for it. And it's always quite funny because still now there is a lot of kind of born a girl drag queens. Not lots and lots, but there are more and more of us. But it is always funny if I go somewhere new in drag and get complimented on my chest plate. And I'm like, thanks.
No, these are real.
Thanks for that. That's really good.
5.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I guess if they're like, oh, nice tits, where did you buy them? At least I can say I did. From the surgeon. Are they real? Really expensive. Yes. Thanks.
Just enhancing the natural whatever God gave me.
That's it. But yeah, the drag stuff's really fun. And I think it then kind of became, when I was doing that, it was a bit more of a release. So I'd kind of, in my corporate life, I'd worked my way up from, I went in on the phones in a call centre, then I moved into training, worked in training for quite a while. And then from there thought, well, if I want to be like a team leader, my dream at that point was to like look after a training department or something, but I had no real people management experience. Obviously, like you said, the strip club stuff, that is a lot of reading people, and there's a lot of things that I can do because of that, but at that point I wasn't writing it on my CV. So how do you say I'm actually really good with people without going, because of look at all this stuff.
So they didn't know it
No,
worked then?
not at that point. No, I didn't tell anybody, not at all. And then
everyone listening to this will be like looking at their colleagues out the side of their eyes. They're thinking,
like, did you, what are you doing?
What do you do on a weekend?
What do you do on a weekend? What is it? Yeah, so I just didn't really tell anybody. And then I thought, oh, right, well, so then I moved into like a team leader position, because I thought, right, well, if I can manage a team, especially I mean, anyone that's worked in call centres will know there's a lot of just basic management that goes on, because people are always off sick, people are always late, people will always do dumb things. Like, so I was just like, oh, well, that'd be really good. I'll get experience of just managing like grassroots people things, doing stuff and following it through. So I moved into that, but that's when I got the bug for HR things. So I would start to do it and I was like, oh, right. And then I would love following the process through and seeing the results, particularly when you can turn something around. I think that's the best part of it. It's not often the bit that people think about. They think about just the
sacking people.
So, beating with a stick kind of thing, but it's far better to like turn a situation round. So that kind of drew me into that. So then while I was team leader, then I did my master's degree in HR management at the same time. So I thought, well, if I get a qualification, that's going to help me kind of go into that HR environment. Because I think at the time, remember, I hadn't told anyone at first. So I had massive imposter syndrome. When it came to corporate life, I felt like a square peg in a round hole. I didn't... It was such a clash of kind of cultures. It wasn't what I was used to in any way. And I felt really, really out of place and quite, I don't know, but obviously I wasn't out about stuff.
And you weren't, it was a kind of, you have hiding something, so it's that authenticity.
Yes,
you were like,
there was so many, and I spent so long trying to be what I thought I should be, not what I actually was, because I was terrified that someone was going to find out and discredit me because of that, because everyone has a perception of it. Everyone does, and they'll have their opinions on it, and people will say things. I know we'll probably come on to it later, but people will say things to my face now about it and think that it's absolutely all right, that you would never say to somebody else's face. I'm all right in some people's eyes. I'm okay now, because I mean, I know you used to get naked for money, but I mean, you do other stuff now, so it's all. I'm not talking about you when I called that girl a slut.
Oh, I hate that word.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind it as long as you claim it back. Like, you know, I mean, I've had a conversation with someone and said, oh, such and such is worried because this is happening and there's a load of burlesque there and she's blah, blah, blah. And someone has turned to me and said, oh, but I mean, they're all just vapid sluts, so I don't know why they're worried. And they knew that I danced. They knew, but it's acceptable because it's just a stripper, ain't you? It's fine. And that still, so imagine back then when I wasn't out, I couldn't. Now I'll stick up for myself. I've got a big gob. But then it was, I don't know, it was just keep it to yourself. Don't say anything. Don't. So that's why I've gone on a massive tangent.
No, it's fine.
That's why I wanted to get my master's degree, because for some reason that made me real. Yeah, like, I mean, I don't think
I'm legit.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's real. I can actually do it, and so I wanted to get that. I danced the whole way through. Like, I still did everything else, but that was like really important for us to kind of get that to.
So basically, 2 jobs, a child, and your masters.
Yes.
Was it and part-time masters?
Yes, so I did my part-time masters while I was working full-time, and then kind of before I did that, I was on my own for a while. So it was a lot of times I would kind of work during the day, and I always used to dance a lot in Leeds just because of that distance thing. Because when Megan was growing up, I just didn't think it was fair.
Like, oh, hello, Megan's teacher.
Yeah, exactly. It's like my life choices are fine, but don't. It would have been weird for me. I mean, actually, if you talk to her about it now, she's really she's totally fine with it, but it's not my position to put that on her. And it was kind of work all day, work all night. And that's how it originally, when I came out, so dramatic.
I know.
When I came
it was
out,
like, we knew.
They're like, you looked really tired all the time. But it was because that's what broke it. So I'd split with Meg's dad, and this was actually before I did my master's degree, but I was working all day, and then I was driving to Leeds, and I was working all night, and then I was driving home, and then I was working all day. And I mean, you can only do that for so long before your manager will be like, what's up?
There's something going on here.
You're just glitching in the corner. And she was she's actually one of the managers. You know, you always have one that you've learned the most from.
Yeah.
And it was when I was in a training department, and she was amazing and she taught so much stuff. But at the time, I thought she's very prim and proper. I cannot tell her.
Sometimes you just can't tell with people that they're not.
Yeah, that's it. But I was like, I mean, the best of people were shocked by things, but then I just couldn't. And then there was just one day I was sat talking to her, and I was like, I'm going to have to tell you, this is why I'm so tired. It's because I'm doing this and doing this and doing this. And she was amazing. She just kind of went, well, at this point, I needed to keep a roof over my head. And it could have been any job, but it's just a job that I knew I could make lots of money within a short amount of time. And she was like, well, I'd probably think less of you if you could do it and you didn't. Yeah. And that was kind of the point. That was like a pivot point of like, oh, it's all right. It was like someone finally said, you don't have to pretend to be this like corporate robot.
Yeah.
Like it was, but up until then, I'd never seen anybody that was both. Does that make sense? You just didn't, did you? It was the kind of...
I don't know, some people I used to work with.
Well, I did work in a call centre, and that's, you know. Yeah. But that was kind of a pivotal time when I just thought, okay. And also, I did always used to have this inner fear of someone's going to find out. Someone's going to find out, and it's going to get spread around work, particularly once I was a manager, because you just thought, oh, can you imagine how much fun the team would have with that? And I just thought I would take the power back, because you can't hold something against me if I don't hold it against myself.
Yeah.
So that's when I kind of came out about it. But then I still progressed, did my master's degree, moved into more kind of bigger like regional HR roles and did that. But that also let me do a lot of... Then I stopped kind of doing dancing because I stopped doing extra work because I needed extra money, and I kind of just did the stuff that was fun. So that's where burlesque and drag came in, because you don't make a lot of money from it. It's just a really expensive hobby, but it's loads of fun.
Yeah.
And that's where that kind of all of that stuff came from, seeing all of the things.
The Wicked one's my favourite.
Oh, I was green for days.
I can imagine.
Days and days. It was, I mean, actually, in terms of like highlights of drag career, it was really, really good. We had like a 3-night weekend, and it was before there was kind of as many big kind of drag shows in the UK, and we went to Manchester because we'd been asked to do Drag Explosion by Holy Trinity, and it was a lot of girls from RuPaul's Drag Race, and then they were having kind of UK based people, so Shade, which is my house, kind of were asked to do it. So but everybody was getting a set amount of time on stage, but there was 7 of us, so it was like, all of you have this, so we had to kind of collaborate something together. So me and my sister Venus de Milo did Wicked. So I was Elphaba, and I painted my entire body green. And that stained pretty badly.
You look a funny colour.
It's a good job I was out. Can you imagine? Why are you that colour? It didn't stay green. It was a weird, like, it just stained me really badly. And I was green for a long, long time. So I haven't painted myself green in a while. But it was lots of fun. It did cause a bit of we did it again at Shade, and obviously with burlesque you're not naked, you have nipple tassels and a thong or merkin or whatever on, but that paint is not very good for sticking things, so I did have a massive wardrobe malfunction as it
Janet
flew.
Jackson.
Oh yeah. I think it's on YouTube somewhere. It literally flies off, like, oh, it's gone.
Oh well.
I can remember going back up to the dressing room and being like, oh no, what has happened to me? Like clutching it. And it was Detox from RuPaul's Drag Race was our guest that night.
Cool.
And she was busy getting changed, and I walk in and I'm like, it came off, blah, blah, blah. And she cried into it, and she was like, oh, it's okay. And then later on, to commiserate me for my wardrobe malfunction, she put her cock and balls in the pocket of my hoodie for me. That was just like it's all right. There you go. So you'll have seen a picture on my Instagram of me green with her. That was like, I had just been like, oh, what's happened? And she's like, I'll cheer you up later.
See you later. Happy birthday.
There you go.
It almost sounds like something my brother-in-law would do. Given half the chance, don't do it, Steve.
Don't do it. Don't do it. What else are you going to do when you're untuck, I suppose?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, going from big regional HR job in corporate, doing the fun stuff on the side, then what happened?
Then I had a pretty big mental breakdown.
Okay.
Like really, really struggled with my mental health. It was just awful. I can't, like, looking back, it's like a really, really low point. And I'd been away, and you can kind of, you know that you're bad, but I don't think you always know just how bad it is when you're in it. And I had been away with work, and I think that did contribute a lot because I was regional, so I was on the road a lot.
Yeah.
Like you guys know, it's kind of lonely, and if you have a bad day and all you're going back to is a hotel room, and it's, I don't know, I just didn't have fun. The business I was with at the time wasn't, there wasn't a lot of us, you know. I think I'd started in kind of big corporates, so I'd worked for EE, I'd worked for Sky, I'd had kind of big corporates, and then I went somewhere where it was a much smaller team, so I just had less
support.
Less support, less face time with people. I went back to feeling very much like I didn't belong for different reasons, but I just felt like I didn't belong there. And I can distinctly remember driving back from Liverpool. We'd had an open day and we were recruiting, and we'd spent all day recruiting. And I remember driving back and thinking, if I didn't have Meg to go back to, I'd drive off this road right now. Like, I knew. And I got home and I thought, something's got to change, because I was almost to the point where I was angry that Megan existed because I couldn't do it. Because if she wasn't there, then I could just do it and it'd be fine. So that all ground that to a halt. And once I'd kind of picked myself up and got better, I just thought, well, I can still do it, but I can maybe direct that energy into helping smaller businesses, because in corporate HR, you see a lot of things fly around, but they've got the money to deal with it. They can throw some money at a problem and make it go away. Yeah, go away.
How much would it cost for you to go away and leave us alone?
Yeah, how much for you to just never come back?
Compromise agreements.
And I'd spent so much time doing them and things, and I just thought, God, and during this time, friends that had small businesses would obviously ask me questions, and you end up kind of sideline helping people out because they know you're in here.
Like, can you write my CV for me?
Yeah, exactly. You're like, oh, I know someone that knows someone, and they end up helping people out. And then, so I just thought, well, why don't I do this? Why don't instead of going back into that big corporate machine? Because I wasn't sure at that point. I'd started to get better, but I hadn't done a lot of work on why I felt the way I did, or why it had all fallen apart. But I was worried that corporate machine was why. So I thought, let's not put yourself in that position, but let's do something where I feel like I'm actually helping people a bit more. And it more about helping small businesses and helping them protect themselves, so they weren't, because there's the flip side of it. There's let's pay you to go away, but there's also people who know how to play the system. Yeah. And in a small business, that can cripple them.
Yeah, break them.
Yeah. And I just thought, it's just so unfair. So I thought, right, well, this is something I can do. I can help people do that. So that's how Walton HR was born. And I guess what I wanted to do was not be what you think of when you think of a HR lady. Because I think that's where the clash came, particularly the people would think, oh, the HR woman's coming, and then I walk in.
It's like, what is this?
And then people were baffled by it. I don't know.
It's always you keep them on edge. It was good.
Yeah. Is she a witch? I don't know. Burn her.
But you could use that to your advantage.
Well, yeah, you can do. Yeah.
I will curse you.
Walk in with a broom one day. I don't need a car parking pass, but where can I leave my broom?
I should have done that. I'd be like,
brilliant.
That's my cat in the corner. But then I thought, there's probably a lot of small businesses that the typical HR lady scares they don't want to deal with someone like that. They don't want to deal with someone that's not necessarily on the same level as them. So that's where that kind of came from. Really was just doing work for small businesses. I thought, well, they can learn from what I did, and it made me feel like I at least was useful, especially when I wasn't feeling great up until that point, and it kind of came from there, really.
And the freedom of working for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword, I guess. It always is, isn't it? Freedom of working for yourself, but
getting people to pay you.
Yeah, it comes with a lot of things that go with it. But one thing I will say is my strip club days have taught me is that I can handle rejection very, very well. I just keep going. Nothing will stop me, even if it's impractical. just power through, and you'll get there in the end. It's a numbers game. If you put enough out there, then stuff will come back. Yeah. And I guess that's probably been an advantage for me in working for myself, is that I just will relentless. Yeah, because you have to be. I watched a TED talk on some guy that was learning how to handle rejection. I just watched it really recently, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to go out and I'm going to get rejected 100 times in a month, and that's going to like build up this, so you just don't care anymore because it's just happening." I was like, "Oh my god, I was probably rejected like hundreds of times a night."
Do you want to dance? No.
Yeah, do you want to dance? And that's if they're being polite. Off. Because if you're really lucky, they'll tell you exactly why they don't want to dance, and they're the fun ones. But yeah, and I mean, I did well out of it, so but it's just part of it is you just got rejected a lot because you had to play the numbers. And I think that's probably why it doesn't bother me so much now. I just think, oh well, next.
You're lost.
Yeah, moving on.
I'd make you really happy.
For 3 whole minutes. Unless you've got more money in that wallet.
Get those
Put your mats out. Unless there's pizza.
And a fire, that's it. It's like,
pizza and a fire, no.
Easy to win over then.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you've got another little side hustle as well, haven't you?
Yeah, well, it's kind of, I have another side hustle, which is a true crime subscription box. So me and one of my friends were obsessed with true crime. So the whole time I'm traveling about, especially once it started the time of podcasts, I would listen to true crime podcasts, watch Forensic Files late at night, and kind of see all of that. And we loved it, and it's just all we used to talk about. And we'd do loads of stuff, and like, have you seen this? Have you done that? And then we started having a true crime pub quiz, and we don't do that many of them anymore, but we started to do this true crime pub quiz, and it was loads of fun. And there was one night we were sat preparing for this true crime pub quiz, and I was like, I wish there was a subscription box, because there's one for everything.
There is.
Like, I would get that. And then we just kind of went, well, so why don't we make that? And I'm very, very lucky that my business partner is like a super talented designer and photographer. So we're able to create stuff that you can't get anywhere else.
I love the Christmas baubles.
The baubles were so much fun. Did you see the toilet roll?
No.
So have you watched Don't Fuck With Cats yet on Netflix?
Yes.
And so everyone hates Luca Magnotta. So we thought, well, I mean, we'd just put his face on a toilet roll.
You know what? I saw the toilet roll, but it was before I watched the programme. So I was like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah. Oh, he's a dick, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, so we put his face on toilet roll, and so you could wipe your ass with his face.
That's amazing.
I think the good thing about mine and Kayla's relationship when we do it is we very rarely say, nah, that won't work. We'll just be like, so how can we make that work? Yeah. So when I came to her, I was like, you can get faces put on toilet roll. Her response was, who can we put on? And it just, if we just think, yeah, we can do it. Why not? So yes, that's been going for about 2 years now. And it's really, really good. It's kind of worldwide. We send them all over the place. I think we've got some in Australia, lots in America, a few across Europe, and lots in the UK. So we send all of those bits and bobs out, and it's loads of fun. And we get to create weird things, but it's something that we both love. And it came from something that we both loved doing, really. So
it's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. Packing day's not so exciting.
No,
but,
you know, bore off.
Yeah, the first box.
I'll send Oliver around.
Yes. So much help getting people to do things. Do this, it's fine. But yeah, it's loads of fun, and it lets us, I don't know, I feel like because I don't do a huge amount of creative stuff anymore, I don't dance anymore, haven't danced for about 7 years. That's the last time I kind of properly strapped on my thong was about 7 years ago to strip, and then probably about 4 or 5 years ago for drag. So I don't really do a lot of that stuff, so it lets me do my creative stuff but in a different way, yeah. So it works really well for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we need? Have we missed anything you want to talk about?
I mean, I think probably, I don't know what your questions are, so it might lead into...
Oh, no, they're totally random.
Oh, okay. The only other thing is I kind of now, when we were talking about it before and you were like, what's the kind of pivotal moment?
Yeah.
Like the things, and I do really feel like the moment that I thought I don't need to keep separate identities was like a big deal for me. And then I feel like I almost set myself up a little bit, not to fail, but not to be as successful as I could have been. When I started Walton HR, I kind of like reverted back into that. Oh, I must be taken seriously. I need to be very serious, and I'm going to be a HR person. So I branded this whole kind of faceless HR. It was so bizarre. I don't know what I was thinking, but I think it was just clutch for anything. And I mean, it did well because obviously people need HR for things and they will contact me for stuff, but it's definitely not me, and it's definitely not as much fun as I think it could be. So my next kind of pivot is working to create some more personal development things, like really tapping into that, you know, when you said about the on-the-job learning and stuff like that, like create training for people that has maybe a different narrative to what they're used to, because there must be more people out there like me that haven't followed a standard narrative, and maybe personal growth training and things that are out there, it is a very similar face that you see, and it's not, you know, it is a very, and you kind of look and go, but that's not me, so I don't see, so there's nothing there for me. And I kind of just want people that have done all kinds of stuff to be like, let's get together, you've actually got loads of value that we can talk about, let's all learn from each other, and kind of create that, I don't know, like that strip club community where we all came in and, you know, we'd all done so many different things, but we could all learn from each other with the purpose of extracting money. Then kind of to rejig that. So that's what I'm going to focus on now, is to pivot ever so slightly. I'm still going to do the stuff that needs doing if people want HR things, but it's more about a personal growth journey for people, so that they can really like be part of a community where it doesn't matter what you did, there's going to be things that we can work on and things that we can, you know, and I can kind of, I don't know, teach you about rejection or teach you about that upsell from random things, you know. It's just got, I don't know, it's got a fun story.
It's almost like that's the bar mat thing. It's literally just say yes and figure it out.
Say yes and figure it out. Exactly.
I loved it.
Just work with it, it's fine. I've
created a product, I've not really thought it through. I've sold
it
before I've made it and really thought, you know,
that's what they said to do.
I sold it before I made it.
I've just rolled
when
it.
it's like, what's your kind of, have you tested your model to see that people want it? He's already paid. I gotta make it work.
Minimal viable product.
Minimum viable product. Done. He said he wanted it. Do you know what it is? I did give him the beer mat after.
Oh, bless you. That's kind.
I mean, it wasn't mine.
I know.
There you go.
Take that home, but always remember me by it.
Yeah, off to my feet.
And he was like, this guy would be listening in
yes,
Leeds.
Someone. Oh
and
my
going,
God, yeah.
That was me.
I was that guy.
Hi.
Hi, thank you.
Well, he was an early adopter, wasn't he?
Yeah.
For the
Yeah,
product?
exactly.
So how many more beer mat dances did you
We didn't do it. No, I didn't do any more really. That I should have really. I think it was because I was
been
focused
very
on,
niche.
Yeah, could have been very, very niche. Hey, there's a niche for everything.
Oh, yeah,
There's definitely one thing you will learn from sex work in general is there is a niche for everything. There's always something. I guess that is something that does help me as well, because I think, well, there's always going to be someone. You've just got to work out whether that pool of people is big enough for you to be worthwhile putting your effort in. I guess.
It's brilliant. I want to read the book, Lessons from Sex Work.
But that's what I kind of want. So I'm gonna try and create something. I keep promising, but then I actually will do it. That's like kind of things I learned while I was naked, and other stories, but mostly things that I learned while I was naked, and multitasking in weird ways, and being a I don't know, like an unregulated therapist. Got the best poker face in the business. I can.
You have to in HR. You have to sort of hear some really horrible things and go,
and just not react.
Oh, that's really interesting. You're thinking, get me out of here.
Get me out.
So like slowly moonwalking out of a room. Like, okie dokie, and then run.
See us running away. See, it was all training for it.
Yeah,
That's all it
exactly.
was, yeah.
Okie dokie. So, are we going to go to our quick fire question
yeah.
round? Which we literally have not named yet, and we keep saying that every time. You know what the name? We need to get someone to name it for us. Any suggestions? Please write in.
You get some weird things.
Yep.
If you had the world's attention for 30 seconds, what would you say?
Oh my God! Don't be a dick.
I've got that on my wall.
Yeah. Just stop being a dick to people.
Lynsey wasn't referring to me, obviously.
Oh no, that's
Once I got over that, I thought, oh no, that's her answer. Okay.
that's my answer.
Sorry, Lynsey.
I didn't mean it. No, just don't be a dick to
It's a
people.
good rule, though. Yeah.
Just don't be a dick.
Yep. Okay, so
Simple.
my question, if you could lock one person up, who would it be?
Oh, there's so many.
Okay, go and name them. Do Aria.
There's like
But with locking them up, not killing them.
Oh yeah, no, we'll not kill them. We'll just lock them up. Oh my God, probably O.J. Simpson.
Mm-hmm.
Trump can go in there as well. So
Yep.
He's not a nice man. I totally can't think.
Oh, that's two. That's good. So OJ's definitely killed her.
Yeah,
Them.
O.J. can definitely go back in.
Yeah.
And I do feel like the universe is kind of, you know, when you normally have the people, you're like, who could you lock up? I feel like at the moment, touch wood, the universe is kind of giving us back, because the names that you would expect, the Harvey Weinsteins and etc.
They're going to jail already.
Yeah, they're going. He's left his prop at the door, and he's not got that walking thing anymore, and off he goes. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of people are kind of getting their comeuppance. Yeah.
What are you freakishly bad at?
So many things. So many things. Estimating how long it will take me to do something.
Oh, yes, me too.
Freakishly bad at estimating how long it will take me to do something.
Finding things that you put in safe places.
Finding things that I put in safe places. But I'm freakishly good at finding stuff for other people,
Right.
but not for myself.
Everything's a balance, though, isn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly. Everything's a balance. Knowing when to stop. It's not like it's not a thing, but knowing when to. It's that, which you just keep going, it'll work. But sometimes I'm not good at knowing when to stop.
Your
And
body sometimes just tells you.
Yeah, yeah. And then you just go, oh no. That's it. But I mean, I can't sing at all, even though for a little while I was in Steps tribute band.
Of course.
I could dance, so I just moved my mouth. What else?
Which one were you?
I was Claire. I didn't look like this then. I know there's no like visual here, but I was blonde. It was the 90s. It wasn't. It was 2000s, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can't think.
No, it's loads of things
No.
you're really bad at. So well
Yeah,
done. Thank you for sharing.
I'm usually good at counting money in wallets if people stood next to me.
Oh, really? You see
That's a leftover. I just do it.
That dude's packing.
Stood at a bar and I'm like, 150. Hi.
Buy me a drink.
I just can't. I think it's just a reflex. I just can't not look, just in case. I don't know what. I just like, nice to know.
Oh, it's brilliant. So, if you can get in a time machine and go back to your 18-year-old self and have a wee chat,
Yeah.
and a pizza next to an
And
oven,
a pizza next to a nice hot fire. Yeah.
what would you say?
Just I would tell myself to come out, like stop pretending that you're two different people, because you're fine as you are. Like, that would be the biggest thing, because I think every time that I've misfired or every time that I've not quite been there, it's because I've been trying to be what
Other people
other people wanted. And I think that whole people pleaser, I'm very much a people pleaser, but sometimes you have to get it right, because I love being a people pleaser where it means that I've helped them help themselves. But I very easily slip into the people pleaser that just gives so much of me that there's nothing left.
Yeah.
So I would just be like, just be yourself. You don't have to please everyone. It's okay for people to not be happy with you.
Yeah, we can't please everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Attract and repel, I always say. It's like you have to attract as many people as you repel.
Yeah.
The other way around. Repel as
Yeah.
many.
Yeah. But that's it. You don't ever really get anywhere, do you? If you just
Vanilla.
yeah. Yeah. And I think I know we've like way out of time.
That's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
Keep going.
I think that was the thing with like when I was dancing when I very first started, you know, when I said that about, I just thought, well, this is fine. You just do this. And I would go in and I would spend my time and I would look in the club and be like, all right, well, she's doing well. So if I just make myself look like her, I just copy what she does, then I'll do well. And it never worked because it wasn't me. So I spent so much time trying to just appeal to everybody, whereas you're far better off being
niche,
not that person's cup of tea, but really that person's cup of tea. And then it'll all work its way out. And then the beauty of it is you always, you know, because if I went up to ask someone for a dance and they really liked tiny blonde girls, then that's not going to be me. But my mate was little and blonde, so I could go and bring my mate over and be like, here's the person you need. There you
This
go.
is the droid you're searching
Yeah, these are the tits you need. And then vice versa, she can be like, oh, you need a big goth. Here she is.
It's brilliant.
Just kind of works that way. But for a long time, I just tried to please everybody. And then you just end up with nobody because nobody likes that middle ground anyway, do they?
Yeah.
Forgettable.
Yes. That's wonderful. Well, thank you ever so much
Thank you for having me.
for joining us on episode 69. Always
I
had to
love
be you.
It had to be.
It's like, who do we know?
Ah, yes.
Awesome.
So if Michelle's in stitches. If anyone would
I always forget that bit. Sorry. Why is James looking at me? Oh, we forgot a bit.
the last part. So if any of that, if there is an interest in HR, true crime, lots of different things.
Publisher wanting to publish
the
a
publisher
book.
wanted to get you on board. For
I would
the
love
book.
to write a book. That would be so much fun. I would love to do that.
Where is the best place to find you?
So you can find me at Walton HR, and also most of my kind of social media stuff comes under, because we all had like a million names, but LO Boys has stuck. So if you go through Instagram and Facebook, I'm at LO Boys. And the true crime is Just Killing Time without a G. So just killing time because the other one was taken. So Just Killing Time is your true crime subscription box.
Awesome.
And you can see all of our weird ideas that you'll be able, now that I've mentioned it, people go, oh yeah, they just didn't know how to say no to the other business partner, that was a good idea.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. So we say goodbye to you now.
Yes, goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thanks everyone for listening. Check out all the show notes at inspirationnorth.com. Join us again for the next episode when we'll be chatting to another inspirational person. If you like this, subscribe and tell your friends. If you didn't like this, subscribe anyway and tell everybody.